All right, Han Solo, one of my favorite movie characters of all time. Um, Kenner made some great figures for him, starting in 1977 and going all the way through the run, all the way through 1985. This is all of them. You have the regular Han Solo on the left, and Hoth Han, Bespin Han, Endor trench coat Han, and then Han Solo and Carbonite. And I'm going to go over each one and show you some different variants for each one. And we'll start over there with regular Han Solo. All right, so my favorite of all the Han Solo figures is the original, and this one came out in 1977. Originally, that small head Han that you see on the left, uh, it it was smaller than they wanted it to be. I'm not sure if they were making these two simultaneously, the small and large head. When I was a kid, I remember only seeing the small head Han in the stores. That's the one I had. And I didn't see the large head Han until probably maybe the following year. But large head Han did uh, release on 12 back cards. So he was released about the same time as this one, but I don't think they overlap production a whole lot. I think they made these, they had to hurry up and get them out, but they didn't like the head, so they just started making the large head. So we have some interesting variants with each one. I pulled out two of the small head Han, get a little closer, and what you'll notice, first of all, even the hair colors can be different. This one is made in the Unitoy factory. This one was made in the Cater factory. And one difference you'll see, I'm going to get you a little bit closer, is this one's legs are painted, or I'm sorry, they're molded in black plastic. So that little red stripe there is paint. This one, they're actually molded in white plastic. You can see there's some paint loss at the toes. And it was molded in white plastic and then painted black. And so that's a variant, that's definitely the more rare one, is the painted legs. And when they're in good shape, they sell for more money than the molded legs do. They didn't make as many of them. Again, that was made in the Cater factory. The reason for it, it sounds kind of weird to do it in white plastic and then waste paint instead of just making them in black plastic. The theory is that during that time they were making his legs and Luke Skywalker's legs and Princess Leia's legs, which are those are white. They were making them together. They were kind of in the same mold machine. So they used the same plastic for all of them and probably realized it wasn't cost efficient to do that with Han with his black legs. So they didn't do too many of the painted legs. So the next one, we'll go on to a couple of the variants here for large head Han. And we have one here made in the Unitoy factory, and that's a Unitoy country of origin stamp. This one is Cater factory. And then here we have another Cater factory with no country of origin. And then these other two, well, I'll get to those in a second. So you can see there's some minor differences in, hair color. It's hard to find these Han Solos too that don't have some paint loss in the hair. That's just really common with them. But large head Han, he's cool, but I thought the small head Han looked way better. The big head Han, I don't know. You can see different plastics. This one's got more of a pale plastic looking face than this one. Over here are my two variants for him. And you can see this one is Glasslight, made in Brazil. And the other one is a PAC, made in Spain. And with Glasslight, they actually made these around 1988 when nobody else was making Star Wars figures anymore. They used the Cater mold, but there's no country of origin. And these are made in totally different plastic. It's a little more of a brittle plastic. You can see his face has got that pale flat plastic on it. Really cool though. And then the PAC, which is this one, and they used the Unitoy mold. And with PAC, what they did was they imported parts most of the time unpainted parts they had imported from the Asian factories, and then they would paint them and put them together in Spain. So they tend to have different paint. Sometimes they have melt marks. This Han Solo doesn't have much for melt marks. It's got a couple of, looks like a couple of tiny ones on the back, up by his left shoulder there. But what they did though, it was common for them to get those melt marks because their sonic welding technology, the way they put the figures together, wasn't as good, and it created heat. It shouldn't have melted the figure, but sometimes it did. It didn't in this case. What I've noticed with Han Solo Pak is you can see like this one, the outline of his belt buckle is also painted. Same with over here. This one it's not, it's just the inside is painted, and every Pak I've ever seen is like that, and Pak is the only one that I've ever seen painted that way. Really cool figures. So Pak and Glasslight, they're going to cost more. They're a little harder to find. They're out there, but not as many of them were made. And like I said, Glasslight, they didn't even start making them until 1988, and they didn't make very many. But that's Han Solo in his original Star Wars clothes. Again, he's copyright 1977, and he premiered on Star Wars cardbacks. Okay, so Bespin Han Solo. I only have 3 of these. I have Unitoy Factory, Unitoy, and Smile. He was also made in the Cater Factory and in Mexico by Lily Letty, and you can also find a Pak version of him from Spain. And not a whole lot of differences with these. These two have a little bit lighter plastic in the face than the Smile one does, and the Smile has brighter brown pants than these have. Actually, they didn't even match up the paint very well. Here's the look at the country of origin. So that's for the Smile Factory, the lighter pants there. And then these are both similar country of origin and date stamps. So these two from the Unitoy Factory have stamps on both legs. And Smile and Cater also only have it on one leg. So that's Bespin Han Solo. Probably the Kenner ones like these don't go for a ton of money. But when you start getting Pak and Lily Letty, especially when Letty comes with the gun too, you can start paying a lot more for those. But the Kenner ones, so they're not usually too expensive. So that's Bespin Han Solo. All right, next up we have Han Solo in Hoth gear. And I only have these 3. I have a Unitoy Factory, a Cater, and a Cater. And you can look at the faces. You can see Unitoy used a little bit different plastic there. Really kind of pale looking, where Cater has a nice flesh tone. A little bit different paint on the eyes too. The paint on the pants is different. So one of the factories made the legs a little bit differently. All 3 of these, this part is painted, this part is molded. You can find it where it's the other way around, where this part is molded. You'll pay a little bit more for that one. These were also made in the Smile Factory, and you can also find versions of PBP in Spain and Pak in Spain. And of course, the ones that we call PBP were molded in Spain. The plastic was injected there. Everything was done. The ones that we call Pak, which was the earlier ones, that's when they were importing the parts and putting them together in Spain. So this is Han Solo Hoth battle gear. And like I said, he's got some interesting variants. You will pay more for the Pak and PBPs. The Kenner ones don't cost very much. He came with the Rebel Blaster there, just like the first Han Solo did. And really interesting one. Be on the lookout for molded leg ones. They're pretty cool. Han Solo Hoth. All right, so Han Solo trench coat. He's a pretty cool figure. I have Smile Factory, Cater, and they were the only Hong Kong factories that made him. Lily Letty also did a version. I don't have that. And you can see, even with the Smile Factory, they have 2 different types of ponchos. This one has no markings on the lapel, and this one does. And then the Cater one is a little bit different color altogether. And he's an interesting figure. Again, he came with the Rebel Blaster there. And came out on Return of the Jedi cards kind of late, too. In fact, he's 1984, where, you know, the earlier Return of the Jedi ones are 1983. So he's copyright 1984, premiered on Return of the Jedi cards. And he's not super expensive either. You know, obviously when they come with all their accessories and they're in good shape, they cost more. But you can get him for a reasonable price still. You can see Smile Factory has two different types of plastic that they used for the face, for the head, along with the different coats. And Cater looks different than those two. So always interesting to see how the factories made them differently from each other. So that's Han Solo trench coat. Last but certainly not least is Han Solo Carbonite. Probably the coolest Han Solo figure that Kenner made. And he's one of the, what we call the last 17. He premiered on a Power of the Force card backs. He's 1985. And the Power of the Force figures, there were 15 new ones that premiered on Power of the Force cards. And 14 of those sell for a lot of money. And this is one, and you know, you usually to get them in good condition with the Carbonite block, probably over $200 or more. So the last 17, they're just expensive figures. You should check out one of them. I have a video on them. It's just called The Last 17. If you scroll down and find it, it's pretty interesting. Very cool figure though. And I'm gonna take him off of this real quick and put him in the Carbonite block. So he just kind of fits in the back. And let's see if he'll stay in there. And boom. So it looks cool like that too. It displays great either way. Very cool figure. One of my favorites as far as how interesting of a figure it is, and relevant to the movie, but doesn't have a lot of variants because they only made one batch of these last 17 figures and then they quit making them altogether. So not a lot of them were out there. That's why they go for so much money. So he's an expensive one, but great figure. That's Han Solo in Carbonite. All right, so real quick, I wanted to show you where everything is in the display, where my Han Solos are. We'll go down here first. And this is my focus shelf where I have the figures I really like to be a completist on. There's all my Han Solos here. And the only one I don't have the only factory I should say that I don't have one for is PBP, but I'll get one of those eventually. They're not super expensive. So that's my Han Solos. And then we'll just head up this way. There's Trenchcoat. There's Bespin. There's Hoth, and up here in the Power of the Force section, there's a couple more of the Carbonite ones, along with, bring you down here, and that's the one that was in the video. That's how I display the last 17 down here. So thanks everybody for watching, and feel free to check out some other videos, and go ahead and hit subscribe, and I'll be making some more soon. Thanks a lot.